I'm Daniela.
I'm Karl.
Karl. We have a son who's now 20, almost 26, 25 years old, who was diagnosed with ADD initially at the age of 7, 8 years old, yes. We were living abroad, and this was suggested to us by the school. We were just about to go on holiday, Christmas holiday.
It was a bit of a shock. And the school said, we need to speak to you. And so we went and we thought, yeah, you don't know what to expect. And they told us about this thing in a very sort of diplomatic way.
No, they said
But we went on holiday in shock. What do you mean? Because it's like somebody's telling you there's something wrong with your child. You know?
And but for them, they said it in a very normal way, like we think he has some difficulties following some instructions and he forgets certain things. I had never noticed that because until a few months before, he was sitting down doing his homework, no problem. He was doing it fast. I never noticed anything that could have made me think that he might have a difficulty following instructions or any other symptoms that may arise. We were in shock. I said, well, what does this mean? And that's the initial phase when you don't know, you need to have the information straight away. And it was Christmas time.
So, which is why we were going away. So.
And it's true, computers were already there, but there is more information nowadays. The initial shock really kept us, far away from looking for information for the first 48 hours. And then once we came down with the decision, okay, fine, there is something, we need to face it and try and find the best way to help him to go through his life. And the more we know, the more we can understand and we can help him, because like prevention is better than curing after. So if you know before, it's better. The school was excellent. We were abroad. It was very inclusive. It had a department, a learning support department, which is learning support not just for the children who have ADHD or any other thing, but also for the very gifted children, because it's the same stimulation, goes two ways. They were prepared, they tested him internally, and then when they thought that for them it was true, that's what he had, then they suggested go and have it obviously tested professionally by a psychologist, which we did. And the first thing that they told me, and this is very important, they said we have to work on his self-confidence. And the self-confidence, I keep on saying, is the most important
thing.
The most
it's an overriding factor.
Because with the self-confidence, I see that my son nowadays has had the strength to accept, to understand what he had once we explained it to him, because he didn't realize that he was having support from the school until he was, I think, about 10, 12, something like that. Because the schools were so open, the school motto was, we are all different and we all learn in a different way. The brain is not one. I need to read to learn, you need to see pictures, so we all learn in a different way. So the attitude from the teachers, from the psychologists at school, from the learning department at school was of inclusion, of, okay, fine, you don't know how to follow mathematics in this way, let's try and find the way that is good for you. This self-confidence was so great. Now, I mean, at school, when we came back to Malta, was the first stumbling. He knows what he needs to work. He knows what the problematic may be. Maybe if there is too much noise around and he needs to concentrate and he needs to work on something or study something, then he needs a quiet place. But he can advocate for himself because, first of all, it was explained to him and explain to him in a very normal way, like you learn in a different way. I'm not saying that he was plain sailing. There were, the reading, the maths was, but you need to find a way to teach maths and
in fact, we never thought of him as being
important.
hyperactive, probably because he did so much sports.
Yes, it's true.
And so he released all that hyperactivity.
But it also manifests in different way. He's not was never the kind of child to hang from the chandelier just to laugh. But, a lot of fidgeting, a lot of little signs like this. But the important thing is, and this is the difference we noticed when we came here. First of all, the knowledge that the teachers don't have here about ADHD.
We began to feel that they don't want to know about it because they don't want it to be their responsibility.
Yes.
This is not good.
It's very bad because I'm not saying that the teachers should become psychiatrists, but they should have a minimum level of knowledge to at least being able to they have to tell the parents, listen, I think that your child may need some help in this area. So they go hand in hand, like they did with us. They really told us, don't worry, we'll manage, don't worry, come. We sit down together, look. And they were showing us the progress in class, we could just go and talk, no problem. But the child is at school every day, so the teacher has to understand, capture those first signs. It's not good to send the child in a corner, punish him. What for? It's a stigma, because the child will come out naughty child.
Understanding this and taking steps as a teacher, in my opinion, if you're a teacher, it makes your life easier. Otherwise, you're just going to be saying, he's really naughty, he's incorrigible, go in the corner, get out. But it doesn't, it creates a lot of tension in you.
It creates low self-esteem.
If you know what's happening, then you can sort of manage it a bit more, even if it's not you who's managing it. But at least you can bring it to somebody's attention.
And I understand also the difficulties because not just the teachers, but there are parents who absolutely refuse to acknowledge that the child might need help. And with a little help, maybe at the beginning, you avoid a bigger problem later. Now, like a toothache, there is the tooth needs to be extracted, and the toothache that you take Panadols and it goes away. There is a big range, obviously.
This is more common than I think you would imagine. Because the attitude in one particular case was, my son doesn't need anything, there's nothing wrong with him, and anyway, I can deal with this myself. So he would sit down with the child and try and study, and then they would start fighting.
Yes.
Because he didn't know how to deal with the child. And so he would, teach in the way he knew, show in the way he knew, which is obviously what's going to happen. So you need to be trained to do that kind of thing.
It's not easy because as a first feeling, you feel helpless. You want to help this child.
It's like pushing a piece of string.
And you feel totally helpless at the beginning. So you need information, you need support, you need a structure around you. Okay, to be able to catch this the earliest possible, because like in everything, the quicker the better. You know what the situation is, you deal with the situation. But obviously, it's not easy. And the stigma, there are still a lot of people, don't say, my reaction is always, I haven't killed anyone, I'm just talking about having some accommodation for a child at school. Or, how do I behave at home if my child has a tantrum or if he's really feeling really down because he has this heavy weight on his shoulder. How do you deal with that? You have to also adjust, maybe be a parent who is a bit different from the way you thought you were going to be a parent, because you tend to replicate your childhood. Yeah? And no, it's not necessarily good. It doesn't always work. You have to adjust to the child, and you need to be a bit compassionate. You need to be a bit strong sometimes, but strong in the sense that you have to give boundaries and freedom within those boundaries as well, because the child also needs to express himself. So there are adjustments, and it's a process. And it's important to catch this process from the very beginning. Well, people usually are afraid of what they don't know.
And of anything that's different from them. That's why you get all this racism. That's why you get. So it's the unknown as well. It's a fear of the unknown.
It's the fear of the unknown, and understanding also, like I said before, that we are all different. And the research nowadays, because I heard it from a professor on television or whatever as well, it's actually showing that there is more and more evidence that the brain is not one type of brain, that there are different types of brain. And this is like, well, now they're discovering it, yes, because as more research goes into this field, obviously more stuff comes out. It's like when people, the other thing that sometimes makes me angry, said, oh, but everybody has ADHD. No. Yes, everybody, sometimes I don't feel like reading or I don't feel like doing something. But people have to understand that, of course, it depends on the level of ADHD, obviously. But when the level is so high, then it gets to a point where it really has an impact on your daily life and you have difficulties working because you're late, because you forget. Then something needs to be done, right? So there is this misconception as well, this idea, but it's something we all have it. No, we don't all have it. It's true, but to say that you have ADHD, a lot of different symptoms have to come together and be there constantly in your life every single day. Not one day I don't feel like reading. No, that is not ADHD, of course. It was hard for him. It was very hard because you know, you can easily go into a depression at that age because you feel.
And we're talking about probably the most sensitive age, between 15 and 17, which is A-level years or IB finals or whatever, when the demands in terms of organization, in terms of the academics and so on, but the organization is very important, that's required, are tremendous.
Yes. He's...
It's probably one of the most demanding times in our lives when you think about it. It's probably more demanding than university.
Because you're learning there. You know, it was difficult because Andrea learned that he has to advocate for himself. So if he felt that in maths there was a teacher who was jumping from one passage to the next and missing some information and taking it for granted, he learned. I mean, they told him, you have to advocate for yourself. So he used to go to the teacher and said, sorry, you're not teaching me the way I can understand. Can you repeat it, please? I don't jump passages. So here in Malta, was not taken very nicely. But I'm sorry, I went up to the teacher and I said, you can tell me everything about my son, no problem. But if you kill his self-confidence, that will not go down well, because with his self-confidence, he will be able to live his life. Okay? And you know, there is a bit that thing, children have to be seen and not heard. No, children have to be listened. The ones who had a bit more experience.
A bit more enlightenment.
A bit more experience also themselves traveling and maybe teaching in different schools abroad. Those knew exactly, and there was never a problem. But with a couple of others, yes, because he should not speak to me to, you know, like the authority. But the child told you what he needs. He was not, you know, disrespectful. So it was just a matter of listening to the child.
We always told him that don't hold back. If you have something to say, say it, but do it with respect. So don't do it in a derogatory way.
Or aggressive way,
or
but
aggressive
if you feel that you have to say something,
Say
you
it.
say it. Children have to grow up as well, you know. You have to teach them. You
There's a
can't be
lot
with
of-
them all the time.
There's a lot of inflexibility.
So it's you have to find the right way, the way that it works for you to be able to explode really and to show what you can do, because we all have strengths. We all have strengths, and you just have to find those strengths and build on them. I would tell the teacher, observe the child, don't judge the child. Don't judge the child. Observe and see what he needs, and then speak to the family and be non mi viene la parola adesso. Observe the child and be
But a basic knowledge
there is a word
of ADHD
Yes.
and other
Yes.
similar conditions, I think
has
is
to
a
be there.
necessary part of a teacher's toolbox. They need to be trained in it. If they're not trained in it, then no wonder they don't get it right. And it would make their lives easier as well. So, you know, parents need information about ADHD, but so do the teachers, and so do all the people in the professional support, or support teachers and so on.
'Cause
Otherwise, you don't know what you're dealing with. I mean, we went through that as parents. I'm much more comfortable with it today. In fact, I'm quite comfortable with it today. But in the beginning, I wasn't. And I wasn't because I didn't really know anything about it.